Hello, this is the course fair video for Philosophy, Morals and Politics. My name is Dan Guillory. I'm a fellow in philosophy here at the LSE, and I'll be the teacher responsible for philosophy, morals and politics in the 24 to 25 academic year. So Philosophy, Morals and Politics is a full year, full unit course that runs through both terms, so 20 weeks long. And it's taught this year by two lecturers. So my colleague Kieran Oberman will be teaching the first quarter of the course, so the first 5-week segment at the beginning of the autumn term, and I will be teaching the rest of the course, the remaining 3 quarters, 15 lectures. So the idea of the course, the aim of the course, is to be a kind of introduction to moral and political philosophy, but it doesn't try to do what one kind of introductory course in moral and political philosophy might try to do, which is to provide a kind of general overview or survey of all of the most important topics in moral and political philosophy, all of the topics that everybody should know about, or something like that. Instead, what this course tries to do is to sort of immerse you in doing moral and political philosophy by introducing you to a range of interesting questions, debates in moral and political philosophy, and in particular, for the most part, questions and debates that are in the ballpark of, or relatively nearby at least, to questions that the people teaching the course are interested in their own work. So that means that the content of the course changes a bit from year to year as the people teaching it change. This year, the emphasis will be on topics and questions where all 3 of the terms in the title, philosophy, morals and politics, come together. So we'll be thinking a lot about questions, about moral philosophical questions about the political sphere, but we will at times also address and look at certain more abstract and general questions in moral philosophy too. So in the first segment, the first 5-week segment, my colleague Kieran Oberman will be introducing a number of central questions in political philosophy. Questions about how our political societies ought to be organised, and about some of the key normative concepts or ideals involved in thinking about these sorts of questions. So we'll involve asking questions, for example, about the nature of freedom and how freedom relates to money and capitalism. And Kieran will also be introducing some key and very influential thinkers about justice in 20th century Anglophone political philosophy, John Rawls and Robert Nozick. In my 15 weeks, things will be kind of roughly divided into 3 5-week segments, each of which will be doing slightly different kind of stuff. In the first of those, so in the second half of the autumn term, I'll be talking about a few, first of all, some questions about the way in which we do moral and political philosophy, in part thinking about racism and racial oppression, and questions about whether the methods of mainstream political philosophy are well suited to addressing these things, and then some more general and abstract questions about how we can go about thinking about normative questions and moral questions. And then finally, in that first segment of the term, we'll take a step back and think about some general questions of moral theory, about the relation between what we ought to do and the good, and about the kinds of moral responsibility and moral obligation that we might have as groups rather than as individuals. Then in the second of my 3 segments, which will be the first half of the second term, the winter term, be asking a few questions about the way in which political decisions are or ought to be made and the way in which we should sort of treat or respond to those decisions. So questions about whether we have, for example, an obligation to obey the law, how we should respond when the law is unjust, whether decisions should be made democratically, and so on. And then in the final 5-week segment, so the second half of that second term, I'll be looking at a group of quite closely related topics, all to do with land and territory and the kind of moral claims that people might have regarding land and territory, the wrongs of colonialism, questions about the justifiability of immigration restrictions, and so on. In terms of assessment, the course will be assessed primarily by 2 things. First, a coursework essay on the first half of the course, material from the first half of the course, which will be due at the beginning of the second term. And second, an exam on the material taught in the second half of the course. So that roughly is a quick overview of what the course is about and will involve. It should be a lot of fun and will involve addressing some deep, difficult, and highly important questions about how we should treat each other, how we should organize our societies, and so on. So if that's of interest to you, do choose Philosophy, Morals and Politics, and I look forward to seeing you there this year.